Hello and welcome to this new video. This one is about the Trivium Drums from Bogren Digital. And at first, let's have into the track here. So this was the little project. I hope you like it. And let's start with the drums here. And I used Trivium Drums, of course, and I routed out all the single instruments as always because I want to have complete control over everything. And I used the Jumpstart preset here. So it's a little bit processed already. So let's have a listen. And I created a Cubase drum map here. I always do this. And here is the tom section. Here we have some double kicks going on. And here are some grooves. And for the processing, let's see, here are my single instruments. And let's open the mixer. And as you can see here, for the single drum instruments, I did nothing here. There is no plugin. I just reduced the pre-gain a little bit, so I have a better gain staging. But for the plugins, as you can see, there is nothing here. But for my group track, here is my drum group track. I have one EQ, and it's a very broad filter here, or not a filter, a very broad bell curve with a Q filter 0.3 dB and a low shelf to give the drums a little bit more low end and a little bit more very broad mid-range. But it's not a big difference, so let's hear this. So let's switch to the tom section. As I said, it's not a big difference. So for the bass I used Submission Audio 3. As always, I really like this thing for these little demos. It's easy to set up and it sounds amazing. And for the guitars, let's switch to the mixer here. For the rhythm guitars I used the Trivium amp knob, and I really like the second cap here, the vintage cap, and of course with the boost engaged, and it sounds like this. And as you can see here on the single tracks, there are no other plugins going on. But for the group track, here is the guitar group track. I have two EQs here, and the first one is a low shelf and a dip in the mid-range here, and another one at around 2K. So it reduces a little bit of the honky mid-range. And the second EQ, these are, let's say, more surgical moves, and these are not that drastic. We have a dynamic one here at around 120, so just for the palm mutes, and here we have one at around 4K. It's almost always a dangerous area for the guitar sound, so let's have a listen. And that's it for the EQs. And here I have two Pro and B sections, and these are for sidechaining. And this one is, I think, for the toms. So let's switch to the tom section. And as you can see here with these red lines, these are the toms. And every time the toms are hitting, they are reducing a little bit of these frequency areas here. I don't do this very often, to be honest, but especially for this section, it's really helpful to, let's say, to gain more clarity, because you have the low end from the toms, you have the low end from the kicks, and of course the low end from the bass, and all these low ends and low mids are clashing together. And with this sidechain thing, you can raise a little bit of more clarity here. So here is without. So you have a little bit more separation between the low end and the toms. And the second one, it's a similar thing, but here the sidechain is the snare. You see it right here, every time the snare hits, it reduces a little bit of these frequency areas here. But as you can see here, it's just a tiny little bit. Yeah, and that's it for the guitar section here. There's nothing else going on. Now let's switch to the little solo section here. And I use the Trivium lead knob here but without the chorus, and I reduced the level of the delay a little bit. I think the default setting is something around 35, 30, and I set it to 25. And the same here for the other section. I also used the lead knobs here, these two ones. And as you can see here, again, there are no other plugins. But of course, in the group track, I have one EQ, just a broad low cut and a more broad high cut here, and also a dip in the low end, low mid area. And that's it for the lead guitars. And if you're interested, let's have a look at the key section here. And the first thing is the Chroma grand piano from Sonoscore. I really like this one, it has a great sound already. And this is always in my template when I figure out some melodies or I try out some chord progressions. And the second one is Mosaic Keys from Heaviosity, and it sounds like this. So here I have just the melody, and on the second option here I have also here all these chord progressions going on. And I double this with the Chroma piano, and then it sounds like this. And here for the piano I used octaves because they stick out a little bit more, which is very helpful to cut through the wall of the guitars. And for the processing I have a 7th heaven here, so give the piano a little bit more space, a little bit more reverb. And the same thing for the Mosaic Keys. I have one EQ here, a dip in the mid-range or in the lower mid section, and again the 7th heaven reverb here. And on the group track for the keys and the Synth FX section I have an instance of the fab filter EQ and just a low and high cut, because this area I want to reserve this area for the kick, the bass and the guitars. Not that much for the guitars, more for the bass and the kick drum. This should be always the foundation of your low end, and the synth section is more about the mid-range. But there are certain areas in the songs where, let's say, you can have a little bit more low end for the synth and the keys, but not when everything is played together. And also a little bit of compression for the synth and key section. And that's it. And let's have a look at the master bass. Nothing special, high shelf, low and high cut, and very small and minor adjustments here. And I have my bus compressor from SSL here, which I really like. It's this one. And I have Saturn for a little bit of saturation. So for this band, for this frequency band, just a tiny little bit of clean tape. And here a little bit more, 10% of warm tape, and that's it. Then I have a little bit of golfers going on. And it balances out everything a little bit. And for the limiter, or let's say for the clipper and limiter, I have this hybrid mode from Flatline 2, which is, I say this in almost every video, this is one of the most amazing plugins. And I use the hybrid mode just for the loudness here. And yeah, that's it. And I hope you like this little walkthrough, and let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching, and see you on the next one. Bye.